Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the now third episode of Coffee with Chris. I can't believe we're already at 3 episodes. The days passed kind of quickly. I feel like I've just been doing these, again and again. But it feels good. It feels really good to make these and to upload them. What doesn't feel great, though, is that I can feel it in my body, this nervousness that what if someone were to actually watch it? Because I don't expect anyone to watch it. I'm completely new to YouTube. I make low effort, low quality stuff, and it's not really that entertaining. It's a very niche thing. So it gets me nervous. And yesterday I opened up YouTube analytics, like my page, and it actually said that my first video had 2 views, and I was like, that can't be right because I've only watched it 1 time. But then I looked at it and I've only had 1 unique viewer, so I suppose that's me. So it has to be me that somehow managed to get 2 views on the same video, and that made me a little more relaxed about it. Because I'm definitely not ready for people to actually listen to this. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready for people to actually listen to this. But, I mean, that's just the insecurities talking, right? Most of us probably know that feeling, that sensation that, I'll never be good enough, even though we're actually improving quite a bit. We just don't see it ourselves. It's easier from an outside perspective. Anyway, I don't really know what to talk about today. My mind is blanking out completely, probably because I'm actually quite tired. So we could talk about that, I suppose. Again, not the most interesting subject, but as I've told you before, this is my podcast, so you're just a victim. Right. My brain and body is so annoying sometimes. I see people around me being able to sleep in. Like they'll just sleep for 12 hours on the weekend or something. They'll wake up at 10, 11, whatever. Or they'll stay up to 4 and then sleep until, the middle of the day and beyond. I can't do that. Me sleeping in means me sleeping until about 8 o'clock. And that is so frustrating because I don't get my sleep, If I one night only get 7 hours of sleep, well, the next night I don't get to have 9 hours of sleep. I still only sleep at maximum 8 hours. And I don't know what's up with that. I have tried everything at this point. I have tried meditating before sleep, if that could calm something down. I have tried curtains that block out the sunlight, as well as a mask to take the remainder of the sunlight. That works a bit. It makes it so that I sleep through the night most nights, though I do have a strange habit of waking up at around 2 or 3 o'clock, which is a couple of hours before I'm actually supposed to wake up. I get up at 5 or 6 depending on what I need to do the next day. So getting up then can actually be pretty frustrating because I can have trouble falling back asleep, and then my brain starts discussing it like, is there any point to going back to sleep? But I've realized that if I get out of bed at that point, even though it's just a couple of hours, well, it's not just a couple of hours more I have to stay awake. It's a couple of hours less sleep I get. So it actually affects me quite a bit throughout the day. And then I'm stuck. Can't sleep, but I can't get up either. And that often results in me tossing and turning for maybe an hour, and then I get 1 hour of sleep. It's not great. Do any of you guys, if anyone actually listens to this, do any of you have trouble sleeping? Or have you had trouble sleeping? And if so, what did you do about it? Because honestly, I'm willing to try most things at this point. I've tried, like I said, meditation, curtains, mask, this It's Baldwin B. I don't know if it has an English name or if that's its English name. I'm not really sure. Something that's supposed to make you feel relaxed. I've tried an afternoon. No, sorry, not afternoon. I've tried a nighttime routine, like getting tea. I believe I once tried milk and honey because I read somewhere that it was supposed to stimulate some kind of hormone or whatever it was. I don't know. Can't even remember at this point, but most things either don't work or have very little effect. So what I've found to have a big effect is the mask. Definitely the mask. Blocking out light and sound is what works for me. But even then, like, how do I go back to sleep if I wake up in the middle of the night? It's not easy. But on the bright side, I get a lot of things done because I don't sleep as much as most other people. Then again, I'm also not as productive. But that depends on how you look at it. Because I'm actually pretty productive compared to a lot of people. But that's because a lot of people don't spend their time productively. But when we are productive, I'm slower. Like, I get less done in an hour than the average person. And that's not just something I feel, that's actually something that was measured when I was a kid. They told me, this isn't meant to be a brag of any kind because it's not actually that impressive. An average is an average, right? And so there's got to be people above it, there's got to be people below it, and there are plenty of people in both places. Well, as it turns out, I'm above average in everything, pretty much everything at least, like everything they measured, that is. Aside from work speed, my work speed is significantly below average, even though my... Again, I don't want to turn it into a brag, so let's just call it other stuff. And we are talking several things, not just, an IQ test. We're talking a full, thorough test, both neurological and physical. And everything was at least slightly above average, except for my work speed. And I have since then found out that my work ethic is probably also below average, but that's a whole other matter. That's one of the most frustrating things, though, because it means even though I'm good, I don't get more done. I'm not more successful. And that's, it balances itself out. And that's why it's not actually impressive. And that's why I don't see it as a brag, because it's nothing to brag about. There's that, I've always loved that phrase, hard work beats talent, when talent doesn't work hard. Sure, I've got the talent, I suppose, but I don't have the hard work. And so I'm just mediocre, really. Where a lot of people who are average, who don't really have the talent, so to speak, but they have the work ethic and such. I see them, they are working really hard and they're doing so well for themselves. Those are actually also the people I like to help the most. The people who don't give up on themselves just because they are not better than everybody else. I hate seeing that. I hate seeing someone give up just because they're not already better. It's like, don't you realize that you need to practice this in order to improve? And then there's that thing, like it comes so naturally to everybody else. Yes, that may very well be the case. Like if you're sitting next to me and we're talking programming, it will very likely come more naturally to me than it will to you. But that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily better at it. You might actually be able to rather quickly become better at it because I understand it on a surface level really quickly. I can set up a program really quickly. But because you have trouble getting into it and you don't quite understand it, you might have to go home, read books, articles, try things out. And all of a sudden, you actually know more about what we've written, what we've programmed than I do, even though I understood it more easily. So give yourself a chance. Even if you are just average, you can be impressive. I'm constantly impressed by the skill level and the dedication of the people around me. And I envy that. I try to emulate that. I don't always succeed. I'm trying again now. Like, this podcast is part of me just putting an effort into getting a routine of some kind. And also, I feel like I get to reflect on a lot of things. For example, talking about hard work and work ethics and all those things, well, makes me think about my own work ethics, my own way of doing things. And I need to do better. I want to do better. Because if talent works hard, then I might actually have a better chance. So why don't I allow myself to have that chance? Well, I should. And I'm trying. It's difficult. You know, I became really self-conscious on the very first day of this podcast, where I decided, okay, April 1st is the day I upload. That was actually decided long before the first upload. I knew I was going to upload, and what I tried to do was kind of prepare myself. It didn't work much, so I spent 3 weeks, actually a little more, I believe. But yeah, I spent a long time. Not that long, but I spent a while. I spent quite a while practicing this podcast, and in all honesty, the quality of the practice sessions is higher than the quality of this. And the reason is that as soon as I knew that I had to upload, I became self-conscious. And when you become self-conscious, you start making mistakes. Like me blanking out and not knowing what to talk about. Me getting stuck for too long on the same subject. Me not really having a point. I think it was yesterday where I started talking and I did have a point, but then I lost it halfway through. Those things didn't happen during practice. They're happening now. So I guess it's kind of like driving. I don't personally have a license, so I can't say, but I hear a lot of people with licenses say the thing. I've been told many times that, well, once you get your license, that's when the learning starts. And I've seen it in the people around me that they didn't learn what they needed to learn at driving school. So they graduated from there not really knowing how to drive, just knowing how to start a car and turn a car and stuff like that. But they only learn how to drive once they start really doing it. Which is actually part of the reason that I've postponed getting a driver's license. I don't have the money for a car. I could probably find it in the budget, but it's more so I don't want to find it in the budget because a car is expensive. And so I don't want to have a driver's license only to 5 or 10 years from now buy a car and not really know how to drive it. I'd much rather just learn by then. And I know that's probably not the best idea because the older you are, the more difficult, and there are all those factors. Still though, that's part of the motivation. And I think that's true for a lot of things. Because you can practice and you can practice for years. But it's once you get into the field, it's once you're out there on the road, that's when you learn. That's where you become a better driver. And you can plan and you can read and you can study, but it doesn't happen. Sure, you might be more prepared. Like me, I already knew how to use the programs that I'm now using, thanks to the practice. But practicing the podcast itself, actually talking, well, it didn't help me much. Because these episodes are still, they're back to the level of, well, the first couple of episodes I did on the test where I didn't know what to do, I didn't know how to do it. And that all comes from self-consciousness, nervousness, insecurity. It's silly when you think about it, but I think it's a necessary part of the process. And that's another reason that I sincerely hope that people don't actually listen to these. I hope that I'll get to upload maybe 100 episodes before anyone notices that I exist. But if someone should notice that I exist earlier than that, then I also need to see that as a learning experience. Someone who can help me become better at this. So whatever happens, it's gonna be good. And yeah, I suppose that's it for today. I don't have much more on my mind. I didn't have a lot on my mind to begin with, actually. So I'm just going to leave you with this. And again, things will get better as I get more comfortable with this. And I'm still enjoying it quite a bit. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep seeing you every morning. And for now, I'll say goodbye. But I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.